Now it's time to kick around some of the week's top stories coming from Planet America. Joining us at the roundish table this week, James Fallows of the Atlantic Monthly. Jim Fallows is also a former presidential speechwriter for Jimmy Carter, and he is the chair of US Media at the United States Study Centre at the University of Sydney. Jim Fallows, welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
First, can we get your thoughts on Super Tuesday, or not so Super Tuesday as some have called it? Was Mitt Romney the big winner or not?
I think only by comparison, Barack Obama was, of course, the landslide winner on Super Tuesday because Mitt Romney continues in a wounded state, but Santorum continues, Gingrich continues. So for the Democrats, it's all good news.
Is it a tough rap for Mitt Romney? He's the front runner. He keeps winning. He wins the big states, the important states that could be decisive in November. What more can he do?
He could have some kind of convincing momentum at this point. There just is, you know, the old dog food joke. I'm sure you've used it too many times on the show. That just, you know, the dogs don't like it, and so he would have to have a big win someplace other than Massachusetts.
On that note, something which I've noticed is that
uplifting note, right?
Yeah. Beautiful note. If you compare it to John McCain 4 years ago, Mitt Romney's actually gotten larger margins in 8 of the 12 states before Super Tuesday. But for some reason, people thought John McCain was just flying it in. But Mitt Romney, they say, oh, it's so close, it's so close.
That would be all your fancy math. You know, there is something about, you know, both the center of the Republican Party, which has moved farther to the right than it was 4 years ago, and Romney, I haven't yet found a group apart from rich people that seems to be really enthusiastic about him. And of course, the LDS vote, and Utah has done very well, and then other big Mormon states. So I think that the lack of enthusiasm from anybody has been a real problem.
Now let's get your feelings on the subject of Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu was in Washington this week. Being a former member of the Carter administration, it's a subject you'd be acutely aware of and sensitive to. What do you think Obama's thinking is in all this, and how will it play politically in November?
I think Obama is trying to contain several threats. One of them, of course, is the Iranians and their plans to build a bomb, but also there's the Netanyahu pressure and the Republican pressure, because the Republicans and Netanyahu together have been saying, look, we have to more or less lay down the line and say we're going to have war with Iran. It's striking there is zero enthusiasm for this from the U.S. military, from the U.S. intelligence establishment, which is not even clear that Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. So I think Obama was trying to be convincing enough to Netanyahu that the Israelis would not themselves go ahead with some kind of military action. So it may be some either very triple backflip bluff that he's pulling off, or actually he's preparing us for war.
Do you think that the fact that Ron Paul has found himself on the left of Barack Obama and Iran, do you think that is their actual positions, or do you think Barack Obama is just selling it that way?
Well, that is the mystery of Obama, which I've tried to write about, and other people too, is whether he is carrying out this very, very skillful years-long plan, you know, a kind of chess master plan, and if he's able to contain Netanyahu so that the Israelis don't attack, and also talk the Iranians themselves in a negotiation, that will suggest that he has been very skillfully applying the peace platform that Ron Paul is having in a more kind of a simple-minded way, or more simply direct way.
I suppose the other factor is the actual Israelis themselves, because I saw a very interesting poll from Israel, which suggested that Jewish Israelis, only 19% of them favoured Israel attacking without America's help.
Sure.
So we keep on saying, oh, Netanyahu will attack, but they don't want him to attack. Would he ignore the populace in that respect, do you think?
Well, I think there's division both in Israel and the U.S. on this point, and it's significant that the military establishment in Israel is, again, leading the resistance and the skepticism here of saying, okay, it's fine to talk about an attack, but what the next minute or the next hour when the Iranians use some of the resources they have, what about the next week, the next month? So I think there is division in both countries.
While we have you here, we have to ask the inevitable question. Mitt Romney raised it again this week, likening Barack Obama to your old boss, Jimmy Carter. What parallels, if any, do you see?
They are both Democrats. They both had economic troubles early in their terms. A big difference is that the economy is improving when Barack Obama is running for re-election. The economy was deteriorating when Jimmy Carter was running. Also, Teddy Kennedy, the most popular Democrat, challenged Carter in the primary as if, say, Hillary Clinton was running against Obama right now, which of course she's not. She's loyally working for him.
Should point out, however, Vermin Supreme, the man with a boot on his head, has challenged Barack Obama in the Democrat primary.
That's true. And also, Carter had to run against Ronald Reagan, and Obama has the characters you've been talking about to run against.
You don't see a Ronald Reagan amongst the current Republicans?
Well, it's true that Ronald Reagan seemed, before he won the presidency, as being a somewhat extreme figure, but he'd been a 2-term governor of California, and he really had some enthusiastic support behind him, as Romney so far has not managed.
He had enthusiastic support and a 30% poll approval at this point in time.
Yes, it's true. So I think that and even with all the things Carter had working against him, he almost won. A week before the 1980 election, he was neck and neck with Ronald Reagan in the polls. So go figure.
Do your brother and sister journalists in Washington know this, but they just don't want to blow the ending for us by saying, you know what, Obama is going to win, or is there genuine doubt still?
Well, I think that the conventional wisdom has swung so much in his favor now in March, almost 8 months before the election. There'll probably be 3 or 4 dips. So probably a month from now, we'll be talking about how Obama is weakening, and so and Santorum is having his surge.
Sounds pretty reasonable to me. Santorum will probably be surging even in 2014. We just keep on surging. Thank you very much for coming in, Jim.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.